Hey everyone, I know you're used to music usually. Today I've decided that it's finally time to talk about my experience with something that's called wilderness therapy. It's one of the things people have been talking about recently, breaking code silence with the troubled teen industry and all of that. And I felt like I needed to speak about it just because I did go through 2 months in living in like the desert in the middle of Utah. I just want our voice to be heard. The kids that went through this. I'm not a kid anymore, but if you could share, please, just so our voice could be heard. That's all really. I will link in the description foundations and organizations that are anti the troubled teen industry and all of that, breaking code silence, anything that has to do with that. So it started, I was 17, this was 2015, so a while ago. I was a minor at the time. I was acting out, I was on probation and things like that. A lot of law stuff and just trouble at home. I had a therapist at the time that suggested this place called Wingate Wilderness Therapy, and suggested this place, and I felt abandoned at the time. I was like really lost and I didn't know what to do, and so like this was like the last thing I needed really. I felt really abandoned, so I was sent away as some sort of treatment or whatever, supposed to help. Now I said okay to it because I knew I didn't have a choice. It was either juvie or jail or this therapy, and so I said yeah. I mean, I understood I had to go. Apparently, if I said no, they hire professional kidnappers. They come in the middle of the night, two grown men, big guys, and I'll talk about it more later. They come into your home and forcefully like take you literally in handcuffs to the airport and fly to the closest airport and then drive to like the intake place, and then they go from there. Anyways, so I was taken to the intake place, and they drew my blood and weighed me and whatever. And when I get to the place, they drive me to the desert, it takes about an hour, maybe 40 minutes to just drive in this like desert road away from any kind of civilization, and they drop me off. They give me some they make me like change and stuff like on the way. But anyways, I get my like 60-pound backpack they gave me with all my stuff in it. Like not my stuff that I had, but stuff that they give me. And your parents pay like 30 grand for this. A lot of kids had, and I'll get more on it later, but like parents' kids will, it's a lot of money, so they'll take out of their like college tuition or stuff like that and send them to this place. So I got like my 60-pound pack and some like clothes and boots they gave me. I get there and it's like dinner time, like maybe like 6 or like around that time. Maybe a little later in the night, like 7. To be honest, the entire time I didn't know what time it was. So I get there, I see the kids around the campfire, they're all dirty or whatnot. They're wearing like, similar clothes. And, I'm like getting to know the people. It was kind of like, it's all kind of a blur now, it's been so long. But I get there and I make ramen in a pot over the fire with like water, and then I put the ramen in, and then but there's like sand everywhere, so a bunch of sand gets in, and I don't have a utensil, so I just grab a stick, break it off like a little, like off a bush. I just use that to eat, like sand everywhere. I'm eating like a bunch of sand. I remember there was just so much sand in my food, and this isn't like my complaint. Like this is like the least of it. I had to sleep on a bag on the floor, like sleeping bag in the desert on the floor. When it was nice out, obviously we didn't have to go under shelter. And the first night I had like really bad, like I remember specifically I had a really bad like night terror or like a nightmare, but I'm pretty sure it was like a night terror because I thought I was home basically, and I I wake up as I'm getting up out of my sleeping bag and like hit my head on something, and like someone's hammock that was above me, and I realized like I'm out there, and it was like really hard. And anyways, in my journal, now that I look, I've realized I didn't even write my first like 2 weeks out there because I was really upset, like just feeling lonely and abandoned. It's in the middle of nowhere, like 100 miles away from any kind of civilization, so if you try to run, you will die unless they find you before. It's possible to make it out, but the chances of dying are high. There's animals and like coyotes and things like that. So as I started getting into it, I realized we were doing like a lot of hikes, which was fine, but we were doing like 4 to 8 mile hikes pretty often, maybe a few times a week until the snowstorm happened, and I'll get more into that. But it was like 4 to 8 mile hikes. Sometimes it was like maybe a little shorter, but usually it was like around that. We had 60-pound packs, so it was really hard, like everyone did. So there was some kids who were like a bit smaller because it's like for like anyone under 18. So like maybe like a 13-year-old. I wasn't there with one, but I was 17. There was like 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds that I was with, and maybe one 14-year-old. I can't remember. So anyways, we had to do that, and I did have like back problems kind of, and I got like back pain a lot, which was an issue, and they didn't really like address that. Like when I'd tell them like every time I saw like the main people or like the doctor or whatever they called him, I would tell them, and they wouldn't bring anything for it. They'd just say like, oh, try like, just literally nonsense that doesn't help. And then one time I got like KT tape or whatever it's called, and that didn't do anything either. I had really bad back pain, and to this day I do. I don't know if it's from that, but I wouldn't be surprised. It was like it was so heavy that there was times if I like stepped in the wrong place, like I would fall over, like in the mud or, while we were hiking in the snow on rocks, whatever. It was like heavy. It was pretty heavy. And one time I did like sit on a cactus, like a small one, and that really sucked. And I got like a bunch of the little needles like in my butt. So I had to like take them all out. That was like a pain because I couldn't really see it, so I had to like use a rock to like scrape it out. I didn't have clothes after that because they were like there was needles all in them. So I had to like chill in my underwear basically until like we got like laundry. And so we would like send our clothes in like laundry bags, and they would do it once a week or whatever. This place was like the perfect place to like breeding ground for like bullying. Nothing like the staff doing something to the kids really happened out there like that, but I could see it happening because there's no there's only one camera that the staff has. So anything can happen. No one could say anything. We wrote letters to our parents, but we didn't know if the people would read it, because there was a rumor about that. I don't know if it was true. Even if we asked them, they would deny it. But anyways, about the bullying, there's a couple, like, it was a troubled kid, so there was kids that would just bully the other kids, and like in like disgusting ways too, like a prank where you like pee in another kid's water bottle, and he would just or something like that, or and they would drink it. The kid would drink it on accident, or there was a time where I can't really. It's really gross. There's a lot of gross stuff that happened, but just imagine just like 16, 15-year-olds like literally savages, because at one point there was a snowstorm and we didn't get food. I remember we didn't have like food for a while because they couldn't get food to us because according to my journal, someone told us that something got mixed up in the offices, so they couldn't bring food to us because of the snowstorm or whatever. So we were like 4 or 6 days late on a food drop, and so like kids were like hungry, like literally like hungry. They didn't have food, and like they didn't bring water to us, and then they couldn't bring the shower stuff to us because of the snowstorm. So we ended up not showering. We ended up not showering for 3 weeks. Some of the kids a little longer because they like didn't shower the week before or whatever. So that was disgusting. We couldn't get toilet paper out to us for honestly, like half or more than half of my stay there of 2 months. So I was using like paper and tree bark and snow, which ended up giving me like some sort of like infection or like a cyst, like a pilonidal cyst, which popped out there, and like I was just sitting in my own pus. It was gross. Like I didn't know what it was. It was like really painful at the time, and I didn't like understand. Like I just thought it was like, I don't know. I was like young. I didn't know. Like if I was home, I could like tell like my parents, yo, like I have this like pain, and like there's like no one, and even if I said anything, like they wouldn't do anything about it. And while we didn't get the drop, apparently I was looking at my journal. Yeah, the staff got a food drop while we didn't for some reason, which doesn't make sense. And then during the snowstorm, the shelter, like we would have to make shelters out of tarp and rope, and so like they would break from how much snow there was in the middle of the night. So one day I woke up in the morning and I was just covered in snow, my sleeping bag, and I couldn't get out. So people had to actually like dig out from outside the tent that we made. They had to like dig out the snow to like help me get out, and then I could like pull. And then like one of my buddies like pulled me out, and then my sleeping bag was soaked, so I had to like wrap it around the fire. We had to like make a shelter over our fire too, right? Because it was like snowing, and so it was just awful. It was so uncomfortable. I was like wet and like, there was during that time there was no therapy too, so we got therapy like once a week, and it was like for half an hour or something like that from some guy named Scott Hess. It was like nonsense, but during that we couldn't even get that, so we were just like chilling out there for like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, whatever, just chilling in like the snow. Like we didn't have like anything. Like, we were trying to hike in the snow. It was like really hard. It's hard to hike in the snow with like 60-pound packs. And I had like back was aching throughout the whole time too, so it was just awful. During the snowstorm, some of the kids climbed up a rock formation, or like a cliff kind of thing. It was like 20-30 feet. All the kids get down, and one of them tries to get down, the last one, and you can find the story. One of the kids fell and shattered his knee off that formation, like shattered it bad. We had to like build a fire next to him because it was like there was snow everywhere, and we had to like put him under a tree, so there was like no snow under the tree, and we had to like give him our clothes because he was like cold. So we were like giving him, like putting jackets over him like a blanket, and then we had to like make a stentor, I think it's called, where you like put like sticks and rope around his leg to like make it like keep it straight. And then we in 3 or 4 hours later, we like dig a path to the main like path where the cars usually drive on, like the washes or whatever in the desert, they're called, like the grooves. So we were like digging a path, and then we like carry him, like 6 of us are carrying him like above our heads. And he's in pain the whole time, obviously, and he goes to the hospital. It takes him like 2-3 hours to get there from there because it's so far out from everything. Apparently his knee was like the size of a melon by the time he got there, which is pretty gnarly. And I've talked to him recently. To this day, he's had like multiple surgeries, and his knee's like still like messed up. And the staff member that was watching at the time was like, got fired shortly after because he was like not paying attention to anything ever. He was like not capable of like, he was not suited for the job. He was not paying attention. The kids were not supposed to be climbing up the rocks and stuff, and he let them. So that was pretty bad. I also noticed that there was like a disproportionate amount of like mentally disabled kids and like LGBT, because not like disproportionate, but like there was 2 guys in my group. I don't know the exact sexual orientation, but I feel like part of the reason they were sent there is because their parents like disagreed with their views, because most of them were there for just like not listening or like not going to school, or some of them were there for like crazier stuff like hard drugs. But that's also an issue, is mixing those kids and having people have influence, people who are just not going to school, or kids who are disabled or something like that, and then people who are doing heroin. There was like some kids who were like maybe like, I can't diagnose them, but they were like maybe a little mentally disabled, or had some kind of handicap, and I just thought that was sick that why someone like this, someone who has issues, would be having to be sent here for, I mean, maybe it just doesn't seem right to me. That's all. The whole time I couldn't see my own face, couldn't shave, obviously. I didn't know what time it was ever, like I mentioned before. The food, eventually I started getting sick of it, that there was like no real meat or anything, just like the packaged tuna that we got, which is fine. I'm not complaining about not eating meat, but it was definitely a change. And then all of us got sick at some point out there, it's 2 months and we're all with each other. So people would get sick. So that sucked because you have to hike and in the snow or and hiking in the sand is hard. Hiking in a desert is hard because you can't keep proper footing, your foot slides. So it was just hard to do it while you're sick. One of the kids actually later on while I was there would be came with scars on his back because the two guys, the professional kidnappers, came into his home and he tried to get away or something. They tackled him and he fell on some glass and it cut his back. So that's the kind of thing they do. And they handcuff you, bring you to the car, don't tell you where you're going, and take you to this place against your will. That's about half or so of the kids that were there. It was like that. I did start eating less, developed kind of an eating disorder out there. And I know it might not look like it, but it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than what it looks like. It's a lot of thoughts too, and so that kind of happened out there, and I lost an unhealthy amount of weight. I think it was 40 pounds, and most of it was most of it was in the month, the last month, but in the 2 months that I was there, I lost 40 pounds, and no one said anything. I couldn't tell because, day by day, you just, I don't know. They would weigh us once every week, except for that snowstorm, and no one said anything, which also sounds wrong to me. Seems wrong that they would do something like they wouldn't mention anything. Yo, you good? Or I don't know, I just felt like I deserved that at least. Someone to mention something, or I don't know, because I didn't know what was going on. I was 17 at the time. I was lost. I was confused. I felt abandoned. I didn't understand. I was really depressed about the fact that I was told 9 out of the 10 kids that go there go to boarding school for 9 to 18 months afterwards. So how would I know? I didn't know what was going to happen next. I was so worried, so anxious and depressed about it. I missed a bunch of school for this, obviously. I was pulled out in February of my junior year. And yeah, until April, mid-April, I was home. So it was February 17th I went there, and then April first couple weeks I was back. I mean, that's about it, really. There's a lot that happened in between that it's 2 months, so it's hard to explain everything that happened. And only a few people know literally everything that went on, or as much as someone can know. And then and I have contact with a few people that went there. Yeah, actually, a few people that I do have contact, I do actually have screenshots I'll show right now of the kid, their thoughts on the place, which is similar to mine. Afterwards, I was still I learned to not trust anyone because my parents kind of sent me there for the most part. So I learned to not, and I couldn't tell the truth to the people that worked there, right? Because I wanted to leave. I didn't want to be sent to a boarding school, so I just learned to keep to myself and not express how I truly feel all the time. And comply That's one of the main things that I realized, is that it's kind of like a brainwashing thing. They break you down, and like through my journal, the journal they gave me, I realized like throughout it they just kept like breaking you down, like to the point that you comply, so you do what they want. And so that's kind of what happened for a little bit, but afterwards I started lashing out more, like in different ways. Anyways, I don't think it helped. After 5 years or 6 years, however long it's been, it didn't help me. I left with more anxiety. I got worse, like anxiety afterwards. Maybe it's correlated. I had like worse anxiety afterwards. I had some like bunch of panic attacks and like more stuff that I won't like get into. Like sometimes I have like dreams out there, which is like stressful. Sometimes I like feel like I understand like I'm an adult now, but sometimes I feel like what if like someone can send me like like just the feeling of abandonment. The feeling of abandonment is one of like the main like things in my life too, and I think like that's a lot of it. And this place kind of seems like, when I hear other stories of breaking code silence, this place seems like one of the better places. So I can't even imagine what the bad ones are like. Yeah, I did end up recently, I messaged one of the guys, Shane Gallagher, whatever. I'll leave his ad so you guys can comment on his post, message him, tell him to quit his job or shut down Wingate. I talked to him, and I might throw up a screenshot, maybe not. And so I talked to him, and he denied everything I said. Basically said, you guys get food every week. You could have showered with your water bottle, which I didn't have water to even like drink for a little bit. Or like we had to like, keep it like, because we weren't getting water. We didn't get the shower thing. It was a snowstorm. How am I going to shower in the snow? He said that everything was a lie. These were all fabricated lies, and that I shouldn't be blaming them, and that it's my issue, and then proceeded to block me. Said that kids weren't allowed to climb on rock formations, but I saw a kid shatter his knee, and more. That it's just gross stuff that it's just not like appropriate. And yeah, that's all. To the kids that went there, I'm sorry I didn't speak about this earlier. To the kids that are there now and that went there after me, I'm sorry I didn't speak about this until now. Seeing other people post about it recently made me realize, yeah, I should. Not many people I mentioned this to don't, like, it's hard to believe that this is a real thing, and it happens. It's illegal in most states. There's only a handful that allow this kind of thing. And Utah is one of them. Wingate Wilderness Therapy is the one I went to, and it was awful. And I don't wish for anyone to have to go through similar types of things for relatively, like, I don't know. I feel like there's something better you can do than that for 30 grand. Yeah, if you could just please share. That's all, really. I'll leave links in the description to donations you can do for this kind of thing to stop, and find better ways to treat like a lot of the issues that, like, drug use or like acting out and violence, is because of deep-rooted issues. You don't want to force them to stop that. You got to figure out what's actually going on. For example, if they feel abandoned, they need love. If you watch to the end, thank you. That's all.